honor of Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, and inshallah hasten in return of Imam of our time, recite another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. As I promised last night that inshallah from tonight till end of the nights of Muharram in this program, we will talk about those who will return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in grace. Those who will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at peace. Those that when the moment of death comes, they have no fears, no regret, and no agony and no sorrow. And the moment they say, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un, for them that is the beginning of a journey which is full of peace and tranquility for them. When we see Amir al-Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib, when the moment of Shahada comes, when Ibn Muljam strikes on the 19th of Ramadan, Imam alayhi salam said, Fuztu wa Rabbil Kaaba. By the Lord of Kaaba that I earned salvation. I found true meaning of victory. I am victorious by the Lord of Kaaba. And this is a reality that return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for some of us could be in that way. Because Quran promised, Ala inna awliya Allah, Ala inna awliya Allah la khawfun alayhim wa lahum yahzanun. Those who are close to Allah, they consider themselves, and Allah consider them His awliya and friends, they have no fears. La khawfun. Because usually fear is of unexpected, unknown. We are afraid of the future because we don't know what will happen. But awliya Allah, they are on the right track, so they're not concerned of the future. Because imagine if you are in the, not probably 4 or 5, but a similar road that is straight. There is no curve, there's nothing. Even if you don't see 30 miles ahead, because it's a straight path, you will be assured, as long as you're watching in front of yourself, you'll be fine. The reality is, if somebody like awliya Allah, when they are in the straight path, they have no fear. They are responsible, they are vigilant, they're wise, and they are active, and they have no fear of future. They do their part, the rest is not up to them, and then they have tawakkul, right? Even a prophet of God, the one that we believe he is one of the greatest example of the straight path. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. When you make a decision, when you have this will to do something, then rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we need the tawakkul regardless of how sure we are of what we do and our planning. But unfortunately, humanity and every human being is capable of perverting and deviating from the straight path. And because of that, we have those who will regret and they will have fear. But awliya Allah have no fear, and walahum yahzanun. They have no grief. Because usually grief happens when we make mistakes, when we are stuck in the past, when we are for some reason suffering from the decisions that we made in the past. Awliya Allah, they did their best, and that's the reason there is no regret and there is no grief and sorrow for them. And that could happen. I encourage you to recite Surah Ma'arij, Al-Ma'arij. It's one of the short chapters, but the meaning of it is it's talking about the ways of ascension. And the main topic and discussion of this chapter is about the return, the life after death, Qiyamah. And Allah in this chapter talks about 3 habits of human being. Again, Surah Ma'arij, the beginning is Sa'ala Sa'ilun Ba'adhabin Waqi', which we have that Ayatollah Amini, may Allah bless his soul, the author of Al-Ghadir. He has the beginning of the Surah Al-Ma'arij is about an incident that happened after Ghadir that I mentioned a few nights ago. That somebody who asked Prophet if Ghadir, an announcement of Ali ibn Abi Talib, was the word of Prophet from God or it was his own word, which Rasulullah said, of course, it is the word of Allah. I will not say something from my own desires and my own will. I am just a messenger. And we have that person asked for a punishment. He said to Prophet that if what you say is true and God asked you to announce Ali ibn Abi Talib as your successor, I cannot see that day. I want to God kill me right now. سَأَلَ سَائِلٌ بِعَذَابٍ وَاقِعٍ. And we have that he was also punished. And this is, as I said, Allama Amini mentioned that these ayah were revealed about that incident regarding Ghadir. But after the first few ayah, Allah talks about, I remember I talk about the dichotomy, the balance in Quran. Light, darkness, day, night, guidance, misguidance, iman, kufr, is always about this balance. That you have a choice to go toward either way. You know, what happened is that, especially in our time, people say, you know, not everything is black and white. There's a lot of gray area. When it comes to, as I said, a lot of people they don't like very white characters. You know, those who really, they're very good or super good. And they don't like all evil people. You know, and they have that symbol of Buddhism, right? The yin and yang, and they say, oh, you know, in the midst of the darkness, there's light. In the midst of the light, there's darkness. It seems interesting, but in reality, ultimately, good and bad we don't have such a thing as gray area. There are double standards. There are justification of right and wrong. But ultimately, good and bad, they're not that relative the way we think they are. When you look at the awliya Allah, when you look at the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's one of the major differences between Islam and Christianity. Because in Christianity, unfortunately, due to a lot of alteration, we see that there are phrases within Bible that refers to a prophet of God committing heinous action, heinous crimes. A prophet of God killing someone in order to marry their wife. A prophet of God wrestle with God and defeat God. A prophet of God lies, cheats, commit murder, do anything. And they say, you know, that's realistic. They're a human being. The reason they were the reason they committed what they did is because they were a human being. But in reality, if we believe such thing is true, there is no way that we can expect people to follow the right path. Everybody is capable of making mistakes. Everybody is capable of doing wrong. Even a prophet of God, even an imam can do that. So it's very easy to justify our own flaws. It's okay if I do something wrong as well. And Quran talks about this balance. There is no gray area. There is confusion. There is doubt. There is a moment that you live in the state of limbo. But in reality, you're either going toward the right path or you are deviating and getting more distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything we say, everything we do is ultimately toward one of the direction. There's not that many decisions that we make that they are neutral. We have tradition, right? That sometimes if somebody says nothing when they have to say something, that's what Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy Anil Munkar is about. Doing nothing sometimes is a sin itself. Because ultimately with taking a stand or not taking a stand, you can promote something or you can oppose something. It's up to you. So in this chapter, Allah starts about the one side of this equation, which are those who did wrong in dunya. That Allah said, when they are prepared for the punishment, this is very shocking, and as I said like last night, if somebody understands the depth of this ayah, it causes any decent and any rational human being to shiver, to shake. That in the ayah Allah said, when the time of punishment comes, those who are based on their own judgment, based on what they committed, they are now is the time their turn to be punished. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in this surah, Surah Ma'arij, that they are ready to sacrifice anything to escape that punishment, even their children. They're ready to sacrifice, and escape that punishment, imagine how difficult, how severe that punishment has to be for somebody to say that they're ready to sacrifice their own children to escape that punishment, to blame them and everyone to escape that punishment. And Allah continues, not only children, their spouse, their brother, anyone. And Quran even goes further than that. It said entire mankind. وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَبَنِيهِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا, as in Surah Ma'arij again. They're ready to sacrifice everything and everyone on earth to escape that punishment. ثُمَّ يُنْجِيهِ. So it's not an easy thing. When you see Amir Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam recite Dua Kumil and he cries with it, يَتَقَلْقَلُ بَيْنَ أَطْبَاقِهَا, that, Ya Allah, how can I be punished? And you see me in agony and pain. When you see Abu Hamza Thumari learn from Imam Sajjad alayhi salam Dua Abu Hamza, and Imam alayhi salam cries as he recites it, we understand how seriously they take the akhirah. There are a lot of documentaries, thanks to a lot of different networks and a lot of online streaming. When it comes to, I personally never been in prison, so I don't have that much experience, let's say, as firsthand. Not yet, at least. There are a lot of documentaries that actually is about them. And when you actually look at some of them, watch some of them, you'll be shocked that for them, misdemeanors, felonies is not a big deal. The bigger the crime, the more insignificant smaller crimes are. To us, even those that they don't consider, stabbing someone for somebody who is, let's say, in a blood gang or something, or the Crip gang, all these gangs in LA, is not a big deal. Stabbing someone. You tattoo, a drop every time you kill somebody. Forget about a stabbing. You don't get a tattoo for that. In a matter of our faith, there's the same concept. Unfortunately, when we look at what we consider ma'asiyah, disobedience of Allah, sometimes the more we commit, the bigger the sin is, the more insignificant other sins become. Oh, it's not a big deal. That's the reason I said, look at Surah Ma'arij and read about it and understand that no sin is insignificant. We have the hadith. One of the greatest sin is to take some sin lightly. If you say, Allah will not punish me for this, the moment you say that Allah will not punish me for this, it means that you don't think that it was a disobedience, you don't think you have to repent for that. That's the sin that you actually will be punished for. Oh, Shaykh, you should see what people do. Said, brother, I talked to your wife. Unfortunately, you're not watching your mouth. You're very abusive, verbally abusive and aggressive. Shaykh, is not a big deal. You should see what other people do. And I said, I'm not talking to other people. And even entire humanity who do whatever they want is still not justifiable. But we do. When I talk to a lot of couples, unfortunately, when they have issues, the wife, unfortunately, was abusive as well, verbally. The justification is, Shaykh, you should see other people. Because others do worse than that, it should be somehow okay to do what we do. Why is that? Because that's the nature of the man. We compare and we look at the scale of the crime that we committed, and we kind of somehow comfort ourselves that, oh, we're not that bad. We're not that bad. Which we have that those who did not go to support Sayyidina Shahada alayhi salam, but they did not join Sayyidina Shahada alayhi salam either. So they didn't take any side. The same people who wrote letters to Imam alayhi salam, some of them were comforting themselves. At least our hand is not covered by the blood of Hussein alayhi salam. But in the ziyarah, what we say? In Ziyarat Warith, in Ziyarat Ashura, said, Ya Allah, remove your mercy, take away your mercy from those who were there, those who fought against Imam alayhi salam, وَشَايَعَتْ وَبَايَعَتْ وَتَابَعَتْ عَلَى قَتْلِهِ, even radiyat bih, right? Ya Allah, take your mercy away from those who actually were in the battle, those who just were as the one that the number, they were just a crowd. They didn't pick up a sword, but they were when Imam was looking at them, there were thousands of people. Not all of them end up fighting. If you go with 12,000, one of the numbers reported that they came, not all 12,000 fought against 72 or 100 people. So a lot of them were shay'at. They were there, but they didn't end up fighting. We ask Allah to take away your mercy from them because they didn't get the chance. If they had a chance, they would have. So it does not make him less criminal in that act. وَبَايَعَتْ, those who gave allegiance. They said to Imam Hussain alayhi salam, we are with you, and then they gave allegiance to Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. And radiyat bid, those who were happy that Imam Hussain alayhi salam was killed. They were okay with the outcome. All of them are part of this crime. In any other sin, is the same story. That's, of course, one of the greatest crime against the grandson and one of the infallibles. But other sins is the same concept. That sometimes we commit this sin, sometimes we consider it not significant because we compare, oh, I did not do anything, I did nothing. We are responsible. So that's the beginning of surah. Talks about people ready to sacrifice the entire mankind to escape punishment. Then Allah says, you know what's unique about man? That man suffers from three major flaws. خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ هَلُوعًا. I want you to know these flaws. The first flaw of the man, Allah said, is from creation. From the moment they're created, unfortunately, they have these with them. So they have to balance, they have to raise and trim themselves in order to be better. The number one is that man was created halu'. Someone who's in nature is always in rush. Impatient. Halu'a. And then Allah said, the second one, إِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ جَزُوعًا. When he is tested by some form of difficulty, some wrong comes to him, reaches him or her, جَزُوعًا. They complain. They are the first one who start screaming, complaining about Allah and everyone. جَزُوعًا. وَإِذَا مَسَّهُ الْخَيْرُ مَنُوعًا. When we give them good, when they have it good and comfort, they start becoming stingy, cheap. They avoid giving. So if they don't have much, they complain. So they have that greed that nothing is ever enough. When they give, when they receive some of a blessing, what they do is they don't give to others. So there are three flaws. Number one is the state of ajala, halu'a, impatience. Number two, greed, lack of satisfaction, this sense of that I'm not fulfilled. The third, it comes to stinginess. And each of them are very prevalent in the life of Rasulullah's enemy and the life of Abu Abdullah's enemy. And when you even look at the signs of the Shia of Imam of our time, you'll see the same thing. That we have those people who will stand against the Imam of our time, they're suffering from the same issues. So for example, we live at the time of occultation, Ghaybat al-Kubra. Those who have no patience are the first one who deny the existence of the Imam. They are the first ones. Those who are greedy of this dunya, when it comes to the time that, okay, a marja said you have to follow this, you cannot make such money. I've seen people who go against the marja, start cursing the marja, disrespecting a marja because the fatwa of the marja is somehow stopping them from making that money. Is against what they intend to do. And that's the reason sometimes it's not about selection of marja based on the piety and based on knowledge. It's based on which one is closer to what I want. Oh, that marja is my favorite. He said, he's very loose on this ruling. When in reality it's supposed to be about knowledge, the most knowledgeable and the most pious atqa and a'lam, the one you have to choose as a person that you follow your religion and you get the rules and religion from, people change it. But Sheikh and that website says like this. And I told those people, if that marja said, all due respect to them, that's their opinion. Out of, let's say, 10 marja, one marja was not as prominent as the other 9, says differently. You ignore all the other 9 and you go with that one because it's more appealing to you. So, إِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ جَزُوعًا وَإِذَا مَسَّهُ الْخَيْرُ مَنُوعًا. We're dealing with impatience, unfortunately. And our children, sometimes we are the one that train them that way. In child psychology, they talk about something as called immediate reinforcement, intermittent reinforcement, delayed reinforcement, which refers to how to deal with the students, right? Or even your own children. That sometimes you have to reward them right away. Or if you talk about some form of punishment, timeout, or whatever, it should be right away if you want it to be effective. And they say usually with the younger kids, immediate one are good. And they did this social experiment that they brought children, mostly aging probably from 4, 5 to 6, 7. They bring them to a room with a camera, a hidden camera, and they place a cookie in front of them. And then they tell them, if you wait for 15 minutes and you don't eat this cookie, you will get 2 cookies. And you know some of them, of course, they're not going to wait 15 minutes. Patience is something that is not very natural and embedded within us. We learn patience. That's the reason Allah even in the Quran said, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا. If it's natural, we're not talking about sabr. It's something that you have to be advised, you have to acquire, you have to earn, you have to practice in order to make it stronger. Inna Allah ma'as sabirin, Allah is with the patient. It's because it's a quality that we have to work. It's not easy to be patient. And we have to teach that to our children. When you see children, especially I'm talking about parents who are, I said that to many communities because I felt that in our communities, that sometimes we spoil our children. Some of us. What I mean by that is somebody had a difficult childhood, a mother or a father that had a very difficult childhood. What they do is they said, okay, I will buy whatever my son or daughter desire for. When I was a child, I wished to have that bicycle. They never bought me. I'm not going to be like my dad. I'm not going to be like my mother. I will get whatever they want. And we do it right away. And we think, oh, this is showing mercy and kindness to our children. Islam, of course, is in favor of that. With showing unnecessary kindness or an exaggerated level of kindness, we spoil them. We teach them that there is no right and wrong. There is no, reward and punishment. Whatever you do, you get it. And you see children have a hard time to deal with teachers, the children who are like this when they go to school, any form of a school. So خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ هَلُوعًا, you can see it in children. If you don't buy something for some children, they throw tantrums. And we have man-childs, by the way. 30 years old, they don't get what they want, they throw a tantrum, by the way. 30 years old, but it's still man-child, literally. For the smallest thing, they have no patience. In marriage, I talk about marriage. I said the first key to marriage is patience. You go, you consider somebody the right candidate. You go forward, they say no, good, go to the second one. Look for another candidate. You cannot find it, okay, the third one. Sheikh is a 10th and I didn't get an yes, it's fine. Fine. Who guaranteed that you will get the answer right away? And same thing for the sisters. I have so many options or so many candidates who came forward and I did not consider right. Why I cannot find a good husband? Make sure as long as we're not idealist. We're not looking for something that is not in reality. If we are realistically looking for someone, there is someone out there for us. But we must have patience. In marriage, they said if you're able, most of the marriages, if you're able to be patient and deal with your spouse for 5 years, the chance of separation after 5 years is lower. Because the most amount of divorces happen at the first 5 years. Most amount of divorces. And it happens because of sometimes impatience. Sometimes we were not compatible. And again, in the case of divorce and marriage, they're case to case different. I cannot just give a general rule about everyone. But usually most of the time that I dealt with the people who want to separate after a few months or a few years is impatience. They don't give time to their spouse to recognize what they need, how they can basically get along well. There are, when it comes to our behaviors, that there are some things that it takes some time to get used to. So patience is the key. And if the patience happens, the other two will be resolved. The greed and the stinginess happens out of impatience. They're born from that. خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ هَلُوعًا. Then Allah elaborate on that. That you know why human being is impatient? When they are in difficulty, they complain. When they are in comfort, they avoid and they prevent from helping. That's because of impatience. So you know this? The people who are ready to sacrifice the entire dunya, the people who are impatient, the people who are greedy and stingy, then Allah make an exception, said, illa, except, which is inshallah the lecture in these nights. Who are the exceptions? Fi jannatin mukramun. At the end, Allah said, these are the one that they will be honored by Allah in heavens and gardens. Who have the karama? Who has the one karama in the return toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is respected and they are at the state of peace? Who are they? Illa. So we want to know ibadun mukramun. Who are the honored servants of God? When we return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I will have time to talk about one of them. Illal musallin. The first criteria and quality for the honored servants of Allah, that they will return to Allah with grace and honor and respect, are those that they establish prayers. Illa al-musallin. And humanity suffers from impatience, suffers from, as I said, complaining, suffers from being stingy, except those who pray. So one of the best way to acquire, so as I said, patience is not natural, we have to earn it. What is the best way to earn patience according to Quran? The first step to do that is not the only one, it's the first, is to pray. Salaat. You know, I remember a few years ago there was this trend, hype, that everybody wants to learn about Irfan. Everybody. Sheikh, is there a book about Irfan that I want to know more? Especially a few names we heard, you know, some of the ulama and urafa. I feel for some, of course, there are people who are genuinely interested in Irfan, mysticism, and they basically, for them, the basics were, they passed the basic, now they want to go to another stage. But for some people, it wasn't about that. They still did not fulfill the minimum on the basics. But for them, Irfan was more of this magical world. You know, it's something that is not very straightforward, you know, do this and this. It's about rituals and practices and wajibat. It's about somebody, in a matter of glimpse of an eye, he transferred from Mashhad to Karbala in a second, right? Tayyul Arz, right? How we can do that? It's like Harry Potter world, right? Some chance, some magic is happening. That was, for some people, it was interesting. Or the Arif prayed, and for example, we have that sometimes in some cases, they pray to Allah and a piece of metal transformed to gold to show somebody that if Allah wants, this could happen. Right? That's something very interesting. But in reality, when you look at the Urafa, what they talk about, irfan is not about some weird practice, some abnormal way of practicing Islam. No, it starts from the basics. Starts from basic. Then when you are past the basic, then you go to a level that you have to do some form of zikr and remembrance of Allah in order to get higher. But you cannot skip few steps and say, I want to be at the top. Marhum Sheikh Nukhud Ali, Sheikh Hassan Ali Nukhudaki Isfahani. If you know about Irfan, probably you should have heard his name. He's buried in Imam Reza al-Sham shrine. If you go to they call the Saqqakhana yard, his grave used to be on the ground, and his tombstone, they move it to the wall now. Sheikh Hassan Ali Nukhudaki Isfahani. There are 2 volumes of book, they call the Signs of the Unknown. And in that, they talk about some of the advices and some of the stories about him. So he's Arif, right? This is what he said. He said, if somebody, they practice what we consider 40 days of wayfaring, purification, 40 days of remembrance of Allah. 40 is a number in Irfan they talk about, in Islam they talk about, Quran talks about it, Musa alayhi salam went for 40, Arba'in has 40. 40 is a specific number. And we have a hadith, Sadiq ala Muhammad sallallahu wa sallamu alayhi said, Allahumma salli ala. So if somebody is able to stay away from sin and be absolutely obedient to Allah for 40 days, Allah will open the doors of hikmah to his heart. If you want hikmah and wisdom, that's the way. So this 40 days, Sheikh Hassan Nukhudaki said, if somebody do 40 days of that, means fasting during the day, prayers at night, making sure what you eat is halal, what you say, what you hear, what you watch. You're very careful about 40 days to nothing illegally. No pirate things are coming, toward everything is legal from the perspective of Allah for 40 days. If you miss one morning prayers, Allah, not by purpose, by accident, you fell asleep, you were too tired. If you miss one morning prayers, all that is gone. You have to start from the zero. Square one. One morning prayers you missed. If you do it deliberately, that's a different story. That's a sin itself. If you do it by accident, that's what salat is about. Prayers is about. Ayatollah Qadhi, again talking of Irfan, again because of the hype of it. Ayatollah Qadhi rahmatullah alayhi is one of the greatest ulama that a lot of maraji used, they were honored to be as a student. Ayatollah Ghazi said, I guarantee if somebody pray their 5 daily prayers and they do it on time, that they will elevate in their iman. They will reach higher status of iman. And if they didn't, they can curse me, send la'an upon me if I lied. Just do your 5 daily prayers on time. Patience comes with prayers. I say that because if you listen to hundreds of lectures, read so many books, recite, Ziyarat Ashura with the 100 salam, but you miss the wajib and daily prayers, we're on square one or sometimes negative. If you learn a bit about Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam, we understand how prayers is and was important. That in the middle of the battle, Imam has to stop all that and pray. And even if the cost of that prayer is to lose the life of few of his companions in order to be able to perform prayers. And he did it publicly for all the propaganda who said Hussein alayhi salam is not a man of prayers, to make sure that the hujjah and the proof is complete. That they have no excuse that we didn't see Hussein pray. That's the reason we attacked him. So, illa al-musallin. Then continues, Allah continues in Surah Ma'arij. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ. They are those that they are continuously praying. Consistency in their salat. Because in Ramadan, we become very good with prayers, right? We become very punctual with prayers. Because of, alhamdulillah, suhoor and iftar, we're very punctual. Nobody comes to a Sheikh, adhan is, 7:25. Why are you not studying the prayers outside Ramadan? In Ramadan, I'm waiting for 2 minutes of ihtiyat, right? His calculations, we don't know his exact. Wait for 2 minutes. Sheikh, and you see all these phones start ringing. Alhamdulillah, they think they are the only one with the mu'adhin as a ringtone or as the... And I look and said, brothers, please turn it off. There's 2 more minutes. There's ihtiyat, just wait 2 more minutes. Then we do inshallah, because if somebody wants to break their fast, we don't want to do it before the ihtiyat. So that's Ramadan. In Muharram, thanks to Sayyid al-Shuhada's inspiration, alhamdulillah, a lot of people come to their senses. But that patience cannot be acquired only with this. We need more than that. Salat and prayers must have consistency, da'imun, dawam. And that's enough for tonight. If you want to be ibadul mukramun, if you want to be honored by Allah, if you want to have that grace and peace when we leave this dunya and return to Allah, the first step is salat. And Rasulullah said, Imam as-Sallallahu said, it's beautiful that 2 of the infallibles, that one of them is the Prophet of God and is the one that brought the religion of Islam, and the one that is Imam Salih, as our belief, is the leader and the teacher of the school of Ahlul Bayt. Both of them have similar tradition about the significance of prayer. Others have it too. Other Ahlul Bayt had hadith and tradition about prayers. But when it comes to these 2, he said, Rasulullah said, أَوَّلُ يُحَاسَبُ بِهِ الْعَبْدِ, or أَوَّلْ مَا يُحَاسَبُ بِهِ الْعَبْدِ is as-salah. The first thing that will be important and that will hold us accountable for is prayer. That's what Rasulullah said. أَوَّلُ مَا يُحَاسَبُ بِهِ الْعَبْدِ as-salah. What Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam said, the wife of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, we have that at the last moments before the Shahada of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he asked for his family and companions to gather. And when everybody gathered, the last word of the Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is, Wallah, I swear to Allah, لا تنال شفاعتنا من استخف بصلاته. I swear to Allah that our intercession will never reach, will not reach those that they take their prayers lightly. من استخف بصلاته means priority between wedding and prayers is wedding. That's what taking the prayers lightly. Between somebody's death and your prayers is somebody's death. That's taking prayers lightly. It's like the air. How air is significant that we cannot live without. We have to breathe. Prayers in the actions of Iman is the air. We have to breathe before any other good deed. We have to pray before any other good deed. There's so many traditions we can talk about salat. If you are looking for shafa'ah, that's the condition. And it's beautiful when we pray, when it comes to the facade, when it comes to the look, when it comes to the apparent part of our existence, we have to purify ourselves. No impurity. And when we start prayers, we take off shoes, right? You cannot pray with shoes. And somebody made a good comparison. He said, imagine when you go to the ziyarah, you take off your shoes, right? When you go to ziyarah and there are people who hold on to your shoes until you come back. And this alim said, again, I'm taking the word from him, it's not from me. So when you pray, imagine that you're putting your shoes aside, said, Ya Allah, hold on to these shoes. And this shoes is a symbol of dunya. Because you leave your house, you wear your shoes to make dunya, right? Anything you want to do, you go out there in the dunya, in the real world, with your shoes, mostly. And that's the reason when Musa alayhi salam came to that holy land, Allah told him to do what? فَاخْلَعْ نَعَلَيْكَ إِنَّكَ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوًى. Take off your shoes. You're in a holy place. And prayer time is that time. Ya Allah, hold on to this. I'm coming here to talk. I left the dunya behind. And then when you say Allahu Akbar. The moment is mustahab to raise your hand, right? We have parallel to your ears. Is that you are putting everything beside Allah behind you. Allahu Akbar. Allah is greatest. Allah is greater than any description. When you bring the hands up, say, Ya Allah, nothing is more important than you. I put them all behind me. It's only you. And that prayers will be something that they need to force us to leave it, not force us to do it. If that's the way we look at prayers. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the honor of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam to give us the tawfiq to establish our prayers on time, to have the presence of heart and sincerity in our prayers, and to don't take our prayers lightly. Don't take our prayers lightly. Quran didn't use the word wail so many times. Wail is a form of warning. Woe upon them. What a bad decision they made, God says. Wailul lil mutaffifin, for example. Those who are, when they see people need an essential product in the market, they hold on to it to make more profit. So wailul lil mutaffifin. You're manipulating people's need. You take advantage of the people's need and necessity. One of them is wailun lil musallin. So woe upon those who pray. But alladhina hum an salatihim sahun. Those who take their prayers lightly. They're inconsistent in their prayers. There's a game for them. If everything is well, I pray. If I have difficulty and problem, I pray. But if everything is going well, for some people it's opposite, right? Not everybody is the same. Some people in difficulty, they remember Allah. Some people, they remember Allah in ease. But those who remember at both times, that's the true test. Because we have our comfort zone. Some people's comfort zone is to struggle. If they are a problem, they come to masjid, iltimas dua, keep me your du'as. The moment they get what they need, I have, my child is born, I don't need any more children. And you don't see them anymore. Or opposite, those who are comfortable, they have everything, they pray, they give sadaqah. The moment difficulty happens, they lose some money, they start, oh, God insulted me. I give sadaqah, and this happened to me. It's like it was a guarantee that in this dunya, no problem will happen to you. When in reality, this dunya is supposed to be with both. And that's what lesson we have to learn from Sayyidina Shuhada alayhi salam. That when Hussein alayhi salam is playing on the Rasulullah's back, when he is growing up in the house of Imam Ali and Fatima Zahra, is somebody, when Rasulullah said, when I see Hussein, it reminds me of Jannah. When everything is going well. And the same Hussein, when he faces a difficulty of losing his 6-month-old child, he cries. How somebody can hide emotions when you are holding the body of your 6-month-old child on your hand? But you don't see him complain. You don't see him, God forbid, turn his back to Allah. That's what makes his iman precious. That is shining. Some of our iman have shine sometimes, some lose it, but his iman is there. And every time we say, Ya Hussein, remember that. That Hussein was with Allah at difficulty and ease, hardship and ease and comfort. That's the way to love Allah. As Imam alayhi salam said, don't worship Allah like businessmen or servants. Don't worship Him out of fear or out of expectation or hoping for reward. That's fine to do so, but elevate yourself to worship Him like free men, ahrar. And they are the one that they worship Allah because they found Allah worthy of worship. They know who He is. We dedicate the thawab of our tonight's majlis, the 7th night of the 7th of Muharram, to a child at our maraji. When they have problems, we have that they used to ask a reciter to come and recite the musibah of this child. A baby that is able to open very difficult ties and knots with his small hand. We dedicate the thawab to Ali al-Asghar alayhi salam. If you have a baby, ask Allah to help you raise them with the love of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and his children, especially Ali al-Asghar alayhi salam. If you have a child, you understand this better than any of us. Even when your child is suffering from a fever, and you know they're going to get better. You see the mother, you see the father, they're not comfortable. They're not at peace. They're anxious. They're worried. But only Allah knows what happened to the mother of Ali al-Asghar Rubab that day. Let's say a salam to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And remember those who used to be with us. But the nature of the fana, the mortality and instability of this life took away the chance of us spending time with them again. They used to be last Muharram with us and they're not here with us anymore. Remember them as well and say the salam on their behalf and ask Allah to count as a thawab for them. When you're selfless in your salam, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I'm the one. If you are giving something, I'm the one who promised. If you give one, I'll give 10. My compensation and my mercy is much greater than yours. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah wa ala al-arwah allati حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن everyone وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب. After all of the companions of Sayyid al-Shuhada, including Bani Hashim, they showed their bravery and in front of the eyes of Hussein alayhi salam, their innocent blood was shed on the ground of Karbala. The final supporter of Hussein is a 6-month-old child. The Maqtal said that Abu Abdullah said, Ya ukhta, nawilini waladi as-saghir hatta uwadda'a. Bring my young child. I want to say the last wida, the last goodbye to my son. Some people ask that why Abu Abdullah said, Ya ukhta, my sister Zainab, bring the son, bring my child. One night, why not the mother? There are two explanations that some of the scholars they said. The first is that Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam knew how impatient Rubab is for the child. Because from tomorrow the water did not reach the camp of Hussein alayhi salam. And this is the end of the 10th day. And imagine this child who did not have any water. And the mother doesn't have any milk to nurse. The pale face. The description is, imagine when you bring a fish out of water and you see how that fish opens its mouth and closes. That's what Ali al-Asghar alayhi salam, on that day when they brought him to Hussein alayhi salam. The second says because this child was so thirsty, he was crying the entire time, and it was turned. One time mother would take care of him, and then Zainab Salamullah will get the baby to comfort the baby, and that time it was with Zainab. Either way, he asked to bring Ali al-Asghar alayhi salam, and you look at the face of Ali al-Asghar. And one maqtal said that he just wanted to say goodbye, and another one said that he brought the baby in front of the enemy and said, you tell me that if I'd done something wrong to you, but this innocent child has no fault in this. If you think that I want the water for myself, take this child, give him water and return it to us. Return him to us. And in that moment we have that Umar ibn Sa'd looked at the Harmalah ibn Kahil la'natullahi alayhi and said, Harmalah, why you don't answer Hussein? He's asking for water. He's asking water for his child. Give water to the child of Hussein. And we have that Abu Abdullah Hussein is holding the body of Ali al-Asghar. He saw that this child who had no energy to move a few seconds ago now is moving fast and quickly. And when Abu Abdullah Hussein looked at the neck of Ali al-Asghar alayhi salam, he saw that the arrow cut and severed the head of Ali al-Asghar alayhi salam. And at that moment, Abu Abdullah Hussein, we have that he filled his hand with the blood of Ali al-Asghar. And he threw it toward the heavens and said, Ya Allah, accept the sacrifice from the Ala Muhammad. And now this body of Ali al-Asghar, who just came to Hussein for the last words, how Hussein alayhi salam can return the body of Ali al-Asghar to the tent and to the mother. We have that Hussein alayhi salam did not bring of Ali al-Asghar body back to the tent. He did every shaheed. He brought Ali al-Akbar, he brought Abu al-Fadl, everyone. But when it comes to Ali al-Asghar, we have that Hussein alayhi salam went to the back of the camp, and with the tip of his sword, he digged a small grave and he placed the body of Ali al-Asghar in that grave. We have that in no musibah Allah comforted Hussein except the musibah of Ali al-Asghar. We have that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Hussein, leave Ali al-Asghar with us. We have a nurse for him prepared and ready. Don't worry about Ali al-Asghar. Ya Rasulullah, at that day they had no mercy for the 6-month-old child, and they had no mercy for the father of that child either. But at least Hussein was there to bury the body of Ali al-Asghar. But for 3 days and nights, all the bodies of the rest of Shuhada of Karbala, including the master of the youth of paradise, Hussein alayhi salam, was under the sun. وَأَلَا لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ. May Allah, by the honor of the Shuhada of Karbala, especially Ali al-Asghar alayhi salam, hasten in the return of the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman. As the hadith said, indeed Faraj of the Imam of our time is the solution and resolution to all the conflicts and issues that we have. That's the ultimate one. I will ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and inshallah you say the Ameen. May Allah inshallah answers our dua and supplication of all of the mu'mineen in the month of Muharram, that I'm pretty sure this dua was made by every Shia and every lover of Ahlul Bayt. I will say inshallah, Allahumma ajjal wajlika al-faraj. And with your Ameen, we show that how enthusiastically, how thirsty, and how impatiently we're waiting for the Imam of our time. Allahumma ajjal waliyyaka al-faraj. Allahumma ajjal waliyyaka al-faraj. Allahumma ajjal waliyyaka al-faraj. Wal-afiyata wal-nas. ومد في عمره وزين الأرض بطول بقائه واجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره والمستشهدين بين يديه. Everybody inshallah.